Welcome to the garden. Today we're going to make a nice basil pesto. And I want to start with a little bit of garlic because this is the hardest to break down. It's going to add a lot of flavor, so a little goes a long way. And we're just going to peel off the skin here and then mash it up in our little mortar and pestle here. I'm also going to add almonds. It's traditionally made with pine nuts, but those are a little tricky to find and really expensive. But almonds will do the trick. These are salted almonds, so they're going to add a little extra flavor too. I've got a really nice granite mortar and pestle here, but you could use a food processor and it'll go really, really fast. So the trick to a nice pesto is a balance of your citrus, which is your lemon, your nuts, your garlic, olive oil, and then a bunch of really nice ripe basil. And a really interesting way to harvest your basil that'll give you even more in the future, you want to look for a nice tall stalk like this. Check to see that there are new growth shooting out here, and you can just pinch right there, and then this is going to fork. You could even harvest some of the larger leaves down low, and these will all just regrow. And then the really cool trick is once you've picked off most of your leaves here, you can leave a few at the crown, just like this. And you want to pick off the larger ones because these are going to transpire and release a lot of water. So you want to have a little bit of the younger leaves on the top. And then we place this in water, and in a few weeks this will be a brand new plant. So we're going to have our old plant forking, producing twice as much as it did this time, and a new plant, all while harvesting this beautiful basil here. So I'm going to do this a few different times, and you could use a scissors to be really safe. But look at this. Look at all these big beautiful leaves. These are perfect. So we're going to do that same method where we just leave the crown, taking all the larger leaves. So we've got one harvest here, another one on the way, and an entirely new plant. So if you have a lot of plants, you can really get a huge harvest and perpetuate, so you get harvests again and again. So this is a really, really amazing way to harvest your basil because you're basically tripling your production by doing this. So a few more leaves here. You want to get as much basil as you can in your pesto because that's the real star of the show. So we've got 4 new plants here. We've got a decent harvest, and all our old plants are just going to fork and reproduce. So we're going to mash this up and add a little oil using extra virgin olive oil and freshly squeezed lemon juice. Really like that bright citrus notes that the lemon brings, and some olive oil. And then we're just going to finish this with some Parmesan cheese. And it's got to be the real stuff, the Parmigiano Reggiano. You really can't skimp and use that stuff with sawdust in it. You've got to use the fresh. And we've got a nice handy little grinder here, so it's just going to mix in really well. And you could eat this raw, but when you toast it, the garlic releases all those beautiful flavors and aromas. And the nuts kind of toast a little bit, and the cheese in here melts, and it's just one of the best flavors in the world. And I love this on pasta and sandwiches, all sorts of cuisine. Pesto is like the go-to spread. If you're trying to cut fats out of your diet, like mayonnaise is really high in fat, replacing it with something as flavorful as pesto is going to be a really great choice. It's going to have tons of flavor. It's super healthy. you're not going to miss mayonnaise at all. So this might take a little while in your mortar and pestle by hand, but a little food processor is just going to zip this up really fast. But if you use that harvesting method, where you look for points where it's putting out new growth, pinch off the tops, and then throw in all the larger leaves while you root this. And actually this leaf is a little too large. And you want something a little longer. The longer they are, the better chance they have of surviving. But I think the short ones will do just fine. I've actually got a few more here because we really want as much basil as we can. So this is going to be grown indoors, this basil. And this is really the first harvest, but there's going to be many more to come. And as we plant out our new plants, once they take root, we're just going to have a beautiful little basil garden growing inside all winter long. As long as you give it a really nice sunny window, it's going to do fine. And one of the tricks I like to use when growing indoors is to bottom water. That is, fill your basin with water. You can see all those beautiful roots. Those are really going to just percolate up. And that way you don't get soil splashing on the underside of your leaves, because even indoor basil can grow that black fungus mold thing on the underside of the leaves, and it really decimates the plants later in the summer. But it can grow inside too. So to protect against that, you can bottom water. But that's pretty much finished here. So that's how I make my basil pesto and harvest basil to get the maximum amount of yield. So I hope you give it a go. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.